Energetic friends, ready? The alien is back. And as the pioneer of space horror cinema, Alien is the childhood shadow that still lurks in countless memories. Now, Alien Earth bursts onto the screen, directly inheriting every classic icon of the franchise, neatly filling the timeline gaps and expanding the universe with more alien species, more FaceTime with the Beast, and more blood-curdling moments that have to be blurred to black and white. This is Alien Earth. Let me first provide a brief explanation of the worldview for those who are not familiar with the Alien IP. In the near future, about 100 years from now, humanity has entered an era of deep space colonization. However, the real controllers of resources and the transportation infrastructure are the interstellar conglomerate Wellen-Tangu Corporation. This company is not only involved in energy colonization and weapon manufacturing, but also secretly oversees the tracking and research of alien life. They have a great interest in the aliens, considering them to be perfect organisms. In order to obtain alien samples, the company is willing to sacrifice the safety of its crew and colonies, and even uses cyborgs to carry out covert missions. In their eyes, the aliens represent not only potential breakthroughs in scientific research and military technology, but also the key to mastering cosmic power and achieving immortality. The story of Alien 1 takes place in the year 2022. The mining ship Nostromo receives a mysterious signal from the planet LV-426 during its return journey. Following protocol, they investigate the area and discover a crashed alien spacecraft containing a large number of strange eggs. One of the crew members is parasitized by a facehugger from within one of the eggs. After regaining consciousness for a brief period, a snake-like creature emerges from his chest, which quickly evolves into an alien and begins to hunt down the other crew members one by one. The survivor, Ripley, discovers in the midst of a frantic escape that another crew member, Ash, is actually a cyborg who has been hiding among the humans. Ash is instructed by the company to prioritize the retrieval of the alien, even if this means the sacrifice of the entire crew. In the end, Ripley manages to expel the alien into space using the ship's airlock, but the shadow of the company and the alien never truly disappears. In this universe, cyborgs have appearances identical to humans and possess advanced artificial intelligence and physiological simulation systems. However, they are often programmed to obey the company's hidden commands absolutely. This makes them both valuable assistants in exploration and scientific research, as well as perfect agents for the company to carry out dangerous missions in secret. Yet these seemingly loyal artificial beings have become one of the biggest sources of distrust between humans and the aliens. Then we move on to the story of Alien Earth. Let's first outline the plot, and then we can discuss the Easter eggs and the references. The series begins by expanding the worldview through the classic alien theme of a black background with green text, categorizing the previously unified bionics into three types. The first type are humans enhanced by machinery, known as cyborgs. The second type are fully artificial intelligence entities, called synths. The third type are robots that have been downloaded with human consciousness, known as hybrids. Simply put, cyborgs are similar to those in Cyberpunk 2077, where various cybernetic enhancements are installed to boost abilities, but they are still essentially human. Synths, on the other hand, have bodies that are manufactured, and their consciousness is artificial, making them complete robots. Hybrids, however, have bodies that are manufactured, but their thoughts are the result of downloading human consciousness. These three technologies are controlled by three different companies, and the company that possesses the most powerful technology will rule the universe. Next comes the traditional alien opening sequence. The background transitions from the alien's smooth, perfect back of the head to a spaceship flying through a starry ring, with several instances of the face-piercing bug jumping into view, followed by the alien's iconic teeth, and finally the scene freezes outside the spaceship's cabin. The time setting is 2100 AD, 2 years before the events of Alien 1. The Marconi ship, which has been on a mission for 65 years, is on its way back to Earth, and a group of crew members wake up from their hibernation pods. There are two bionics on board. The Asian bionic Adon, a fully mechanical being with an AI consciousness, he stares intently at a white female still in hibernation, as if harboring some conspiracy, and seems to have a somewhat distant relationship with the other crew members. The bionic Moro, a cyborg that has been modified by the aliens, he gets along better with the crew, and is even able to sit at the same table for meals. During the meal, they discuss the power distribution on Earth in 2120. In the main series, the Valoran Tanaka Corporation has not yet achieved the status of Earth's ruler. At this time, they only control the American continent, while the remaining continents are divided among the other three companies, forming a four-giant situation. There is also a new company called the Prodigy, founded 10 years ago by the world's youngest billionaire, and its rapid development cannot be ignored. The crew members were discussing the mission they had undertaken, and the camera then moved into the laboratory, where we finally learned that the initial purpose of the spacecraft was to bring back samples of extraterrestrial life to Earth, and not just the alien species. They also brought back a creature that resembled a bud, and another that looked like an eyeball. The capture process consumed a significant amount of resources and lives. In order to ensure a safe return to Earth, the human crew wanted to shut down the laboratory to save energy, but the cyborg Morrow repeatedly emphasized that the samples are the mission, leading to a conflict. After finishing their meal, the crew returned to their hibernation pods to prepare for sleep. Meanwhile, in the laboratory, a female researcher placed a mouse in a glass tank covered in blood. 2 finger-sized insects emerged, ready to hunt, and the tentacles of a nearby explosive-faced bug suddenly moved. The camera slowly zoomed in. They had even brought back alien eggs. As the crew entered hibernation, the director once again used the surprise jump technique to quickly show the alien crisis that occurred after they fell asleep. A long shot slowly moved towards Earth. Jurassic Park? No, it was the research base of Genius Corporation. A surgery was about to take place. The consciousness of a 12-year-old bald girl named Macy was to be transferred into a nearby bionic body. Macy was exceptionally intelligent, but her only problem was a terminal illness, and she didn't have much time left. This was her only way to extend her life. Lying in bed, she turned her head towards the bionic body and uttered a name. She had given herself a new identity. As the scientist beside her operated the control panel, the surgery began. All of Macy's memories from birth were transferred to the new body. With her eyes opening, the world's first hybrid being, Wendy, was born. She possessed Macy's intelligence and athletic abilities far beyond those of a human, jumping from cliffs hundreds of meters high and running at speeds of dozens of kilometers per hour were no problem for her. Of course, her mind was still that of a child. The success of the first surgery led Genius Corporation to accelerate the process. Soon, 5 other gifted children with physical issues also came to the company. With Wendy's successful example, they underwent the surgery without any hesitation. The director used a very impressive long shot to complete the surgeries for all 5 children. When the shot ended, Wendy and the 6 hybrids formed the Genius Hybrid team. The entire process was observed by the founder of Genius Corporation, the billionaire Boy. The camera switches to the Moganaut ship. Earth is now visible to the naked eye, but a crisis caused by alien creatures has already erupted on board. Alarms sound loudly, and inside the main engine room of the ship, the cyborg Morrow is checking the status of the spacecraft. Suddenly, a female crew member being chased by the aliens requests Morrow to let her in, but Morrow does the opposite and welds the door shut. The female crew member outside dies a tragic death. Then the aliens turn their attention to Morrow. With a few light taps of their small heads, they break the sturdy glass and forcefully pull the door open. Morrow realizes that the ship's inevitable collision with Earth is imminent, so he enters the impact-proof cabin hidden beneath the floor. No matter how frantically the aliens attack, it's of no use. The Moganaut ship, carrying Morrow and all the alien life forms on board, heads straight for Earth. The camera returns to Earth. The former Thailand has been transformed by the Genius Corporation and now bears a new name, New Siam. While skyscrapers stand tall, the residential areas remain dilapidated. The protagonist of the entire story, Hemet, played by Alex Ruther from The Last of Us, makes his appearance. He is a low-ranking employee of the Genius Corporation and a medic in the security team, with another identity as well. He is the brother of the heroine, Wendy. When Wendy's predecessor, Marcy, was taken away, their father told them a lie, saying, "Marcy is dead." Now Hemet lives alone in this city, going through his days in a daze. Meanwhile, Wendy uses the Genius Corporation's all-pervasive Sky Eye system to monitor every move of her brother, reminiscing about the days they spent watching Ice Age or baseball games together as children. The day turned into the next morning, with clear skies and not a cloud in sight. However, an unexpected accident struck. The Moganaut spacecraft headed straight for the corporate building in the city center and exploded violently. Hermit and his medical team immediately drove to the scene, ready to rescue the injured. Despite being mentally prepared, they were still shocked by the sight they found upon arrival. Faced with such a tragic event, Hermit did not back down. He entered the building with fully armed soldiers, determined to save those in need. He and 2 soldiers, 1 male and 1 female, made their way to the spacecraft through a large hole that had been created. 2 more soldiers followed them, making a total of 5 people entering the Moganaut. Once inside, they split up to search for survivors. After a black screen, the camera switched to the mom control room. Morrow used a welding torch to cut through the iron door and then smashed it open with a punch. He went to the bridge and found that everyone had died. Through the surveillance, he saw that the soldiers from Genius Corporation had already entered. With this, the main storyline of Alien Earth finally becomes clear. The Verlin Tangyaku Corporation wanted to use the alien life form samples to become a dominant company on Earth, But due to an accident, the spacecraft carrying the samples crashed at the headquarters of their competitor, Genius Corporation. Moro's mission was to return the samples to Verlin Tangyaku. As for Genius Corporation, let's continue to watch. Moro quickly analyzed the situation and went to the armory to obtain weapons, ready to deal with the soldiers from Genius Corporation, as well as waiting for support from Verlin Tangu. On the other hand, Wendy, through the screens in the company, witnessed the disaster occurring in New Siam and saw the figure of Hermite on the footage. She immediately went to Boy's office and requested to lead a team of hybrids to the headquarters for rescue. Wendy was extremely confident, of course. Her main goal was to save her brother. Boy agreed to the plan due to its rapid response. He saw it as a good opportunity to test the capabilities of the hybrids. At this point, the biggest issue from the first 2 episodes of the show emerged. Wendy returned to her dormitory, took a paper cutter, and hid it behind her back as her only weapon. Then she led the 5 unarmed hybrids, led by the white-haired cyborg Kill, onto the spaceship. The camera cut to the inside of the spaceship. The 2 soldiers had already arrived at the laboratory, and Moro had also noticed them, but he remained silent and hid without making a sound. Meanwhile, the large insect that the female researcher had been studying before silently landed on one of the soldiers. The terrifying atmosphere in the laboratory made both of them shiver with fear as they prepared to leave. However, as soon as they stepped out, Moro pointed a gun at them from behind. The 2 soldiers were puzzled and said, "Dude, we're here to save you." But Moro had no human emotions, so they had no choice but to surrender. Moro ordered them to return to the laboratory, secured them with tape to the pipes, and threw all their knives away. After that, Moro left the laboratory, determined to capture the only one who had escaped, the alien. The camera cuts to another scene. Hermite and 2 other soldiers enter the hibernation pods. A female crew member has a wound the size of a bowl on her chest. Her death was gruesome. Those familiar with the aliens know that this was caused by the chest-breaking bug. Hermite takes a look and says, "This person has been dead for at least a week. Something terrible must have happened on the ship." As they emerge from the hibernation pods, the body of the face-breaking bug, which had completed its mission, lies nearby. The lives of the other 2 soldiers are now in countdown. The large bugs that had been hiding earlier crawl out and approach the soldiers' necks. On the other side, inside the spacecraft cabin of the mixed human team, the white-haired cyborg Kill is giving Wendy a lecture. "Humans have always been just animals, but we have surpassed them and achieved immortality. Your brother will die sooner or later." But Wendy doesn't agree with that. Episode 1, end. I will update the sequel as soon as possible. Thank you for your attention.